I'm Karen Bowen. I'm the Democratic Services Officer supporting the meeting today. Can I first commence, for the benefit of those online and all those viewing at home online, that a few housekeeping issues, please. Just to let you know that as I mentioned, the meeting is being recorded. It will be placed on the council's website and archived for future reference. And should anybody wish to speak in the meeting, could you please use your raise your hand function, and the chair will call you in as appropriate. If you have any issues during the meeting, I'm sorry, my I don't know if I'm coming through okay.
Yeah,
No.
Feedback.
Feedback. Okay, feedback. Okay. Is that better? No.
Slightly.
Is that better?
Yes, slightly.
Can you hear me now? No, can you? Yes, you can. Okay, sorry, apologies. I don't know what the issue was there, but yes, if I can just recap, sorry, for the benefit of those viewing at home and for all the members on the call, just to let you know that my name is Karen Bowen. I'm the Democratic Services Officer supporting the meeting today. The meeting is being recorded and is also being live streamed. It will be recorded and also placed on the website for archive purposes. During the meeting, we ask all participants please to use the raise your hand function, and then the chair will call you in at the appropriate time. If you have any issues during the meeting, like me, please contact the Democratic Services Officer, who will assist you as much as possible. So without further ado, I'll pass over to the chair now. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, good. Welcome to Vicky this morning, who's taken the place of Debbie. As you know, Debbie's working part-time elsewhere, so Vicky's kindly standing in.
Good morning, members.
Morning.
Right, any apologies for absence?
I have no apologies for absence, Chair.
Good. Well, looking around, we've got a full house, so that's very good. Minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of September. You've had those and read them through, hopefully. I looked at them again last night. As far as I'm concerned, they're a true record, but does anybody take a differing view or want to make a comment? Lots of shakings of heads. No? Fine, okay. So, Karen?
Yeah, can I just mention, Chair, that Councillor Janice Charles is not on the call, so we haven't actually got quite a full house, but she may join at any point. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I've missed that. Right. So I'll sign those as being a true record of the last meeting. We then move on to receive any declarations of interest and the nature of such interest. Are there any, please? Yes, Councillor Franks.
This is a precaution. I suspect Lorna might be reporting on me and my community council, but I don't know. It's not clear in the agenda, so I just flagged that up. And then if I have to do something, someone's going to have to advise me, I'm afraid.
The report. Councillor Franks, I think as this is a standard report that's brought to the Vale of Glamorgan Standards Committee, I don't think it would be necessary in the circumstances for you to declare an interest.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Right, so we'll move on to observations by independent members of the Town and Community Council. And I think there's only one, which is Lorna.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I attended Dinas Powys Council, feels like ages ago now, but it was couple of weeks ago. I believe it was the last meeting in our current round of meetings. It was an excellent meeting. Councillor Franks can relax. There was a number of external speakers which did prolong the meeting, but they were very informative on a subject very close to my heart. There was full engagement from the committee. It was very well managed. No issues to report.
Oh, excellent. There we are, Councillor Franks. You can pass that back.
Music to my ears, Chairman, and we didn't take Lorna for a meal and a drink afterwards. I assure you that was unbiased. Thank
Well
you very
done.
much, and
Good.
it was lovely to see Lorna there. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Well, I think, Karen, that now concludes. Sorry, I've got feedback, which is
Yeah. It may be on your mic.
well, I'll try and carry on, but it's a bit difficult. That concludes now the attendances at meetings, except where there are urgent cases, I think. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. So as I say, this is a regular report that's brought to the Standards Committee, but the round of meetings has concluded. But where there is an exception, further reports will be brought back.
Thanks.
Yeah, if I can just mention, Chair, that for the benefit of the members and those viewing at home, if you recall, a previous resolution by this committee has been that once Oldham Community Councils have been visited, we will then undertake, if there are any issues, we will undertake further observations during the year. But for those where there are no significant matters that have been raised, like yourself, Councillor Franks, then obviously we will do them on a 2-yearly basis.
Thanks. Pat, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I'm doing a revisit to one of the councils on the 6th of December. Just to inform you that there's still one outstanding.
It's on mute. I can't hear it.
I can hear her.
Oh, you can hear it. Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, surely. I'm doing a meeting on the 6th of December, but it's a repeat visit.
Okay.
So that should conclude all the visits after my doing the one on the 6th.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Chair, just to confirm that the a report will be brought to the Standards Committee in January 2024.
Yes. Councillor Johnson has got his hand up.
Apologies, Chair. It's just about the sound feedback issue. I can see it's been placed in the chat that perhaps the issue is that at certain times both yourself, Chair, and Karen have their microphones open, and because you're sat next to each other, there's feedback coming through your computers, which is then affecting the sound for the rest of us. So if one of you can mute when the other one is speaking, then hopefully that will resolve the issue.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. Yes, that's better. Right. So we'll move on to item 5, which is the duty to cooperate with the Council Standards Committee and any subcommittee in the exercise of the Standards Committee's functions, the threshold criteria. I'm going to ask Vicky to speak to this and tell us where we've got to on this item.
Thank you, Chair. So as you can see from the report, and to remind members on the call of the Standards Committee that at the meeting of the Standards Committee on the 28th of September this year, the details of the threshold criteria, which it was intended the Vale of Northern Council would utilise, having regard to the implementation of the recent statutory and non-statutory guidance in respect to the provisions of the legislation. There was a really good discussion, I understand, in respect of the criteria. At that meeting, the pro forma, which is appended to the report, was approved by the Standards Committee, and in the intervening period, there has been consideration of the comments and feedback from the Standards Committee and from group leaders to enable us to develop the criteria. So within the spirit of that discussion, what was discussed at the last meeting, I would like to present on behalf of the chair the criteria, the draft criteria, which is appended to the reports. The likelihood is that aspects of the pro forma may need to be amended to detail those provisions, and the invitation this morning is for the Standards Committee to give that some thought, the criteria some thought and some consideration, and to have a discussion in relation to the contents of the criteria for this morning with a view to adopting it. There is one point that I would make on behalf of the chair, and that is to say that from time to time, obviously, once we've agreed the criteria, from time to time, as matters arise, depending on what those matters are, it may be necessary to bring the criteria back for further consideration if we need to reflect on those issues that have arisen, whatever they may be. And it may be during the course of the municipal year that the criteria will need amending. And I think that's to reflect that this is an organic process. That is something that we will have to consider going forward. So without going yet to the recommendation, I open that up for discussion.
Thank you for that, Vicky. I don't know if you're able to clarify. Under 3, it says group leaders to meet with the monitoring officer and the chair of Standards Committee on a 6-monthly basis. There's going to be also a meeting with the Standards Committee. Would that constitute one of the meetings, or are there going to be 2 separate ones?
The intention around the draft threshold criteria is that there would be group meetings on a 6-monthly rolling basis with the monitoring officer, and then separate meetings then with the Standards Committee.
So it would be 2. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Does anybody want to comment on that or ask questions? No? Well, I think Debbie and Vicky have done a good job on that with the leaders of the political groups, and I must say, to date, everything has worked very well. So I don't want to spoil it in any way, and I think that gives us a good guideline of what should happen. So subject to anybody wanting to say anything. Gerwin?
Yes, could I just look at the foot of the page, paragraph 2. Group leaders to meet with the Standards Committee on an annual basis. However, should areas of concern arise regarding a group, it says, should that read group member?
Sorry, which number are you looking at?
I'm looking at Appendix 2.
Yeah.
The numbered paragraphs at the foot of the page.
Yeah.
The one that starts group
number
leaders.
2.
Should areas of concern arise regarding a group? Well, should that read group member?
It could be, or yes, I'm told, yes.
Yes.
Well, I suppose it could be group or group member.
Group or group members.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah. Thanks for that, Gerwin. Councillor Franks?
Thank you. I have no real comment to make. I always find it difficult to imagine how such things are going to be implemented, not just on this particular issue, but on many issues. So I take it that we will be having an opportunity to review this. Did you, Victoria's nodding, so that's good.
Yeah, that's right. So as I indicated, it's an organic process, and it's difficult to say at this stage what's likely to emerge going forward. And I think as a committee, it's quite clear that we need to have the opportunity to bring back any further reports in relation to the application of the criteria, and to consider as a committee whether or not that needs to be amended in light of those events as they arise.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Could Victoria give some indication if it would be in 6 months' time or a year, or is there a sunset clause? What are the triggers to review?
Yeah,
sorry, perhaps I can come in there. The system, there've been no problems so far, so we haven't had to call in the group leaders. They haven't had to consult with us, so there've been no issues. I think if and when issues occur, hopefully they won't, we will learn from that. Frankly, I think it's going to be an ongoing process, and if after 6 months, a year, we say, oh well, no, that didn't work, let's consider changing it. So I think it's an ongoing process.
Okay.
But at the moment, as I say, it's working fine. Councillor Summers?
Yes, I was just going to suggest that as we have a programmed meeting with the group leaders every 6 months anyway, that would be the obvious time to consider whether any review was necessary.
That's a good idea as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think it's an annual meeting with the whole of the committee. We have 6 months meeting, so that's okay. Good. Subject to that, everybody happy? Nobody else wants anything to say? Anything else? No. Good. So thank you, Vicky. That's approved as far as the this committee is concerned. We now move on to responses to the Welsh Government's consultation of the recommendations of the Penn Review. I don't, subject to what anybody else says, I don't propose to go into this in any great detail, and we don't need comments that 20% of the 80% who replied were in favour or against. Vicky might just give us a little background to it, but then I'll invite comments.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, this report is for noting. Just to remind members of the committee that in March of this year, Welsh Government issued or launched a consultation in response to the recommendations by Richard Penn in respect of the ethical standards framework in Wales. They have now published a summary of the consultation responses, and that was published by the Minister for Finance and Local Government on their website. It could be accessed on the website, and it was published on the 14th of November this year. The report is for noting, but just to make a couple of key points to the committee this morning. The Standards Committee in June of this year agreed a response to the Welsh Government consultation. So the views of this Standards Committee were considered as part of that consultation. And there has been follow-on discussions with the All Wales Monitoring Officer Group. And one of the points that I would remind members about, and one of the changes that came out of this consultation off the back of the review, is the amendment to the council threshold for gifts, and that was set out in the report. So other than noting, what we will be doing going forward is bringing back a further report for the members of the Standards Committee, updating the committee on any further publications and decisions made by Welsh Government in respect of the outcome of the consultation. So at this stage, it's very much for noting, but more to come.
Thank you for that. As I say, I don't intend to go through it in great detail, but does anybody have any comments that they want to make? Yes, Ronnie Alexander.
Thank you, Chair. Vicky, I'm interested in all of this as a subject, and I noticed particular comments about amendments to improve complaints handling and result in ethical standards being further enhanced. And I understand from what we just said that there will be further information from Welsh Government on all of that in due course. But I'm conscious that the process really, not through any fault on our side, but it's taken quite a long time in terms of consideration within Welsh Government. And do we have any idea of the timescale when we're likely to get any further information or clarification from Welsh Government? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Alexander. There isn't any indication at this stage of what the timescales are likely to be, but there happens to be a monitoring officer group meeting a week on Friday, week tomorrow. So I think it's one of the points that we're seeking to raise at that meeting, with a view to attempting to try and ascertain a timescale for those considerations. I think it is an important issue, and I know there's an event in Cardiff in January in relation to some of the issues around civility in public life. So it is very much something that's on topic at the moment, but we'll certainly feed back at the January meeting as regards any timescales that we've been able to establish.
Thank you, Vicky. That's helpful.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? No, I think everybody's quiet there. So we'll note that and we'll watch the progress of that, which may be quite slow. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 7, civility in public life. This is an issue which has been raised and is, I think, constantly at the back of our minds. Vicky, would you like to tell us where we are on this?
Yes. So this programme, I think I can describe it as a programme, commenced back in 2019, and it was very much being led by the Local Government Association in England, working in conjunction with the WLGA in Wales and the corresponding associations in Scotland and Northern Ireland. The programme has developed somewhat in England, and there was a recent meeting of the Executive Committee, and the detail for that you can find at paragraph 2.4 of the report. Apologies, sorry, 2.7 of the report. Their steering group met in September of this year and summarised for England, I emphasise, the activities that the programme had undertaken during the course of the municipal year 22-23. And looked at areas of focus for the programme coming forward in 23-24. I won't go into the detail of what England have been undertaken in terms of their programme of work, but the message that came out of the steering group meeting was very much that they continue the LGA to offer national support to Welsh councillors alongside English councillors. And further work is anticipated regarding the programme going forward. The intention, Debbie's intention at the meeting a week tomorrow, is to raise this issue with the WLGA representative who attends the All Wales Monitoring Officer Group meeting. We are hopeful that there'll be a discussion around that to primarily to ascertain in terms of the WLGA, what their intentions are going forward in progressing the programme of work in Wales. It's obviously not to lose sight of the fact that WLGA historically have produced guidance for members on bullying, harassment and personal safety. Heads of democratic services continue to encourage more practical support for members. So, for example, councillors have access to staff counselling services, and there's work locally with the police to ensure support is in place. And you'll also obviously be aware, because of this committee's involvement in the procedure, the local dispute resolution procedure was also implemented. So it's not that things haven't been achieved in Wales, it's simply that we look now to the WLGA to give some direction to us in terms of what their programme of work is likely to be likely to look like going forward. Any updates will be brought back to the January meeting of the Standards Committee, and just obviously to make the point that any recommendations that come out of this work with regard to standards of conduct in the Vale, obviously they will be reflected in any updates to the Constitution, in particular Section 19, which is where the information that relates to this subject is set out. So it's very much for noting, but an important topic, and keen to really get an update from WLGA, which will report back.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Any comments or questions? No. Councillor Franks, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you. I think we all subscribe to the view that people should be well behaved and polite in meetings and elsewhere. However, I do worry sometimes that such policies can be abused, especially by ruling groups who wish to dampen down robust comments from opposition members. Now, you've got to imagine the ruling group, and I don't mention any particular one, have got the support of the monitoring officer, the legal, the chief executive, and all that stuff. And the opposition member has to stand on their own or her own 2 feet. And I do worry that the system will be used against individual councillors who speak out, perhaps robustly. What protection will there be? What protection will there be for an individual councillor in those circumstances?
Well, answering it off the top of my head is that provided that councillor is a member of a group, he or she will have the group support. He or she will have the leader support, and that leader has direct access to the Standards Committee. It's very difficult to try and dictate to people how to behave, but it's something as Standards Committee we've got to be aware of. And I think you make a fair point that it's something that we have to get the balance right. Well, as far as we can, as we're in the Standards Committee, but I think it's a point that is well worth making. Any other?
Okay. I won't take it any further, Richard. I'm glad I've aired it, and
yes,
we'll see what happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Birch.
Well, as a member of the ruling group, I don't want to take issue with what Councillor Franks has said, except to point out that he is implying that the monitoring officer is in cahoots or collusion with the ruling group. And we know that our monitoring, I mean, I don't have experience of monitoring officers on other councils, but we know that they are meant to be above the fray. And I trust our monitoring officers to be that. And I think that, they can't speak up for themselves. So I think that, I would resent the implication that our officers are simply there to serve the needs of the ruling group rather than the council and our behaviour as a whole.
Thank you for that point. It's a good point, well made. I assumed that Councillor Franks wasn't referring to the Vale of Glamorgan Council.
Correct.
Correct. It was a generic comment. Yes, it had occurred to me what you said. Hopefully, and I'm sure in our case, the monitoring officer and her deputy are very independent. Subject to that, anybody want to say anything?
I would just come in and just reiterate what the chair has said, that obviously, and I know that Debbie and myself take the responsibility very seriously. We are under a statutory duty to establish and maintain standards. under the legislation, so it's defined by legislation to maintain those standards across the council, and it's something we take very, very seriously. But no, that's all I wanted to say, really.
Good, thank you very much. Okay, so the rest, I don't think anybody else wants to say any more on that. Democratic meetings is.
Chair, you're quite right. I don't need to say anything more on that report. I would just like to mention, for the benefit of those viewing at home, that Councillor Charles has joined this meeting about 10 minutes ago. And obviously I didn't want to interrupt discussions, but I just need to make sure that's for the record, that everybody knows that Mr. Councillor Charles has joined this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Councillor.
Sorry to interrupt.
Charles, I gather you had problems getting on.
Yes, a great deal, and I'm terribly sorry that I can't come online for you to be able to see me.
Right.
But I'm sure you're quite glad about that anyway.
No, not at all. But we can hear you.
Yeah, my sincere apologies.
That's all right. Technology isn't sometimes does let us down. Right. The next item is 8, correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. Anything there that's for the public?
So this is a report that we'll pick up in part 2 of the agenda. So it's an update in relation to correspondence that we've received in the intervening period since the last meeting of the Standards Committee in September from the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. So I'd invite Chair for this meeting to move into part 2.
Well, yes, we'll do that now shortly. Any items which the chair has decided are urgent? I don't think any have been referred to me. Karen?
No, Chair. No.
Okay. Well, thank you. So subject to that, we'll move into part 2. So there'll be a break now whilst the recording is stopped. And we'll be advised when we can move on.